Hi everybody, welcome to Fiber Fun with Olivia. My name is Olivia. I am a knitter, a crocheter, and love anything fibery, yarny. I'm addicted. I'm all about that yarn life, and I like to have fun, and I can get a little bit silly. So if you are new here, welcome to the Fiber Fun Familia. I hope you have a little bit of fun with us, and if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. Okay, let's talk doilies. Doilies, yes, doilies. I love doilies. My mom taught me how to crochet doilies when I was about 8 or 9, and ever since then I have been addicted. I did them a lot as I was growing up. I made them while I was in high school. In college it did slow down, but then after college, when I had a little bit more time, I kind of got back into it. So I've shared in other videos that I do like doilies, and many of you have said that either you love them too, or you'd like to know a little bit more about them. So let's talk about doilies today. I thought I'd share a little bit of history, just a little bit, and then also share a little bit of my experience with doilies, share some pictures with you of some that I've made, and then maybe share some books or magazines. And then, if you guys are into it, we'll keep talking about doilies in other videos as well. And I hope you do, because I love them. So I do want to keep talking about them. So let's jump right in, shall we? Okay, so I'm not an official historian or anything like that. I just looked up some history online, just a little bit of research, and went with that. So let's start with, where does the word doily come from? It turns out, and I'm going to be reading from my notes, that doily was a surname of a London draper and dry goods dealer in the 17th century. The term doily came to be used to describe genteel and affordable woolens. By the beginning of the 1700s, his name, doily, was actually used to talk about like a fancy napkin. And then in the 1800s, making doilies was kind of a convent thing. Nuns began teaching poor women how to make these really inexpensive napkins so that they could sell them quickly and make some money, and that way their families would not starve to death. So it became really popular in that way. And then at the same time, mass production was beginning, and cotton threads began to be industrially made, and so it became a little bit more affordable, more available to the masses, and so more people were making some of these napkins. Along with that mass production also came mass production of furniture. There was I was reading in that article, and I'll link it down below. It was mentioning something about mass production brought about like a higher standard of living. Everybody had these nicer tables now, and nicer chairs and sofas and all of this. And with that came, a need, I guess you can call it a need, for tableware, table linens, covering your sofas and stuff like that. So by the 1900s, doilies were everywhere. They were in magazines, and talking about how you could put these napkins under a glass, under your plates and your tableware, how you could use them to cover up the sides or the backs of the sofas to keep them cleaner, and you can just take them off and wash them and put them back. They were reusable. So they became really popular. And that takes us into where it came into my life, where in the 1960s, 1970s, my mother was very into crocheting, and she was a subscriber of some crochet magazines, so that when I was born and when I was little, in the early 1970s, I was born in the late 60s, but in the early 1970s, that's when she taught me how to make them, and I got completely addicted to making doilies. It was very therapeutic for me. It was a chance to spend time with her, and we would, she'd receive her crochet magazines, and we'd look at them and discuss, I like this one. We both kind of had that love of crocheting doilies, or crocheting anything really, but doilies especially. But she liked different doilies than I did. She liked them a little bit more airy. She she loved crocheting doilies with pineapples in them. I was not so much a fan of pineapples, not back then. I love them now, but I liked more of a dense, I think that's the best way I can describe it, a dense doily, where filet crochet doily, or, a lot of texture, or if it said advanced experience level, I was all about that. I wanted to try these new techniques and create all of that texture on those doilies. So we even though we both loved doilies, we liked the different ones. I crocheted a lot tighter than she did, and I liked that nice tight look, whereas hers were more airy and lacy. So it was really interesting that we liked different colors too. She liked the light peaches, and those colors were very in the 70s, right? Whereas I liked the more bright colors, and you'll see some of my doilies. I do like my bright colors. So even though doilies were very in the 60s and 70s, I think in the 80s and 90s and after, they kind of died out. And I feel like they've been making a comeback in the past few decades. It's definitely been a combination of things that has brought them back. I think especially more recently, we had more, we were stuck at home during the pandemic and we had more time. So a lot of people got into more crocheting, knitting, you name it, anything having to do with crafts and using your hands and hand making stuff. We had more time now, so we were doing it a lot more. But even before the pandemic, I feel like doilies kind of started making a comeback. They were renamed as mandalas. To me, mandalas are just doilies made with different yarns and different colors, and so or coasters, those little mini coasters. They're called all these other things. They're doilies to me, because that's what you're making. You're making a doily with different yarn, or making them with a different color. And also, we're very much into the vintage things as well, right? Vintage things have this allure now. To me, they don't feel vintage because I've grown up with them, but I know they very much are seen as this vintage item, and people have started collecting them. So yeah, I feel like doilies have had a moment lately, and they continue to have their moments. So with that, let's jump into some of the magazines I have. I unfortunately no longer have my mother. She and I were very tight, and I did inherit some of her crochet magazines, and they're some of my favorites. And I wish I could go back and begin collecting all of those older magazines, but they're expensive now to find those magazines. So, I count my blessings with the ones that I do have. This is one of them. This is actually from the 90s. But yeah, she was subscribed to Decorative Crochet all the way through the 90s for sure. And, here. Oh, that was so pretty. Oh my gosh. And, I don't want to show you the patterns because that's not allowed, but they just have such beautiful, beautiful doilies. Some other ones that I have that came from her collections. I know we have some really old stuff. And then she also bought ones in Spanish. When we would visit relatives in Mexico, when I was little, I remember we would go see my father's relatives, and they were still there, his brothers and sisters and cousins. And I remember we would go to these areas where a lot of I don't know, my mom just knew about them. I'm not sure how, but we would always go to these places. I remember specifically in Guadalajara, I think it was called San Juan Bautista. And it was like this big, world market. And they had all kinds of stuff, food that you could go eat. And, and then they had all of these handmade things, clothing. She went for the crochet doilies, and she would stock up on all of these beautiful, really small doilies, some colorful. Oh my gosh. I still remember it. And I probably have some of them somewhere, just because they make me think of her. I don't use them, but they're there. I didn't go through my boxes and look for them, but yeah, I just have that really fond memory of doing that in Mexico City, in Guadalajara, wherever we had relatives. She made it a point to look for those doilies, and then she'd come back and just be totally remotivated and start working on more doilies, or, whatever crochet item she wanted to make. But yeah, she bought Spanish magazines too. Ganchillo Artistico. And more recently, I have bought more updated doily magazines. See, this is what I mean by dense. This is how I love them. And so this is with designs by Mary Wurst. She's one of my favorite doily designers. She makes beautiful, beautiful items. Or she designs, I should say. She designs. I've made quite a few from this book. Actually, I think I have one right here. Let me see if I can. I didn't iron them, you guys. I think this one might be a little bit ironed, and I don't know how well they're going to show up. But yeah, this one is definitely, yeah, see, it's not ironed. This one is from this magazine. Here it is. It's called Exciting. But of course, I made it in this darker cotton because that's what I do. I love to modernize my doilies. I love vintage doilies, but I love to put a modern twist on my doilies and use them. To use darker colors, multicolor, or just, something bright and something that makes it look a little bit more modern. And I like to use them. I love my doilies, whether they're vintage or modern. Here's a perfect example. I forget what this one is called, but I'll link everything below if there is a pattern. I love this one. I love the yarn. When I saw the yarn, I knew I had to make this. Again, it's not ironed. And the lighting does change when I put it closer to the camera. But yeah, so in this one, I get so many compliments on it when I set it out. So yeah, I just love modernizing my doilies. Here's another one of my favorite doily books that I have. And I'm always looking for doily books because I love them so much. But yeah, again, we're looking at these. I'm trying to find the pictures so I can show you the pictures. Very dense and techniques that, I love, like I said, making doilies with newer techniques or challenging. I remember this one doily. I must have made it when I was, I think I was like 16 and in high school. And it had, for my crocheters out there, now I think it's a little bit more common, but back then I had to like jump over the back into like another row like below and connect it and bring it back, and then on the next row I had to connect it that way. And I remember it was so challenging for me, but that was one of my favorite doilies that I made. I don't think I have it here. If I can find a picture, I'll show it, but you can't even tell by looking at it, but I enjoyed making it so much. And then I was a stay-at-home mom. I did have a few years at home that I enjoyed very much. When we lived in Florida, I got into knitting doilies. And so here is one. It's called Knit Heirloom Doilies. Now, knitting is not, I say it over and over again, it doesn't come second nature to me like crochet does. Crochet just has one live stitch at a time. So it's easier for me, but knitting, I have to concentrate. So I think I have 2 knit doilies. I want to make that one. Oh my God, I love that one. I love that one. Yep. So I don't have that many knitting doily ones, but I see them and I love them and I want to get them all, but I know I'll make more crochet than I will knit doilies. But I like knitting my doilies too. So now I'd like to show you some of the doilies, even though I already showed you a couple of them. I showed you this one. I love this one so much. I threw them on my desk right here and they're all muddled up, so apologies because they're kind of a hot mess. This is another one that I decided to use. I think this was Sauerball, that German yarn, and I decided, I haven't weaved in my ends, you guys, but here it is. I need to block this. So I do like using wool, cotton, anything, anything. I enjoy it. I already showed you this one. I also love making a Christmas doily every year. It's kind of my little tradition, and I wanna or Halloween ones. I know I have a spider web one. Oh, I didn't bring down the spider web one. But here is a Christmas one, and it's gonna be really hard to show it to you. But I can show you a little bit. This is a big one, and I do put it out on my table during Christmas time. If I'm not mistaken, the yarn was from Holly Press Fibers, and it has wool and cashmere in it. So yeah, this is big. This is big. And I will try to show you a picture of it on the table with a little snowman on it so you can see what it looks like and get a better idea. Here's one from when I was in high school. Again, it's not ironed. I really should have ironed this. I don't know if anybody out there remembers, but in the 80s, there was this thread that you could buy that had this like shimmery stuff on it. And at least with my mom and all of her friends, it was so in vogue. It was in style. Everything had to be with that shiny thread. And so I made this one. And I had forgotten all about it. And then when I was having my daughter, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I remembered it and I pulled it out and I used it to decorate her room because her room was a princess room and it was like a light purple, and I had crocheted her a little unicorn that I set on top of this, the little unicorn amigurumi that I made. Again, if I can find a picture, I'll share it. But yeah, so I pulled it out again, and I've kind of, now it's just, she's older now, so she doesn't have a princess room anymore, but that's one that I made when I was in high school, and I got to use it. I mean, I definitely used it before I was married and all of that. I had it in my bedroom, but then I put it away, and then when I went to college and all of that, and so I got to use it again in my daughter's room, and that just makes me so happy. Here's one that I really liked because it was kind of vintagey, and I liked it so much that I used the same colors. I'm not the best, you guys, at but I hope you get the idea. I do like my vintage doilies, but they have to have a little bit of color in them. So that's vintagey for me, like the vintage pink. Otherwise, here's another one I made, I'm pretty sure when I was in high school, and this is more like a filet crochet almost. It has hearts. This one's big. Yeah, I usually wash them, but then I don't iron them until I'm about to use them. I think I made this, oh, I don't remember when I made this one. But this is airy for me. This is kind of the style my mom liked, the airiness, the lacy ones. But I liked it, I think, because it had this here. And I really like how it came out. God, what is this? They're not, did they come out or something? Maybe when I wash them, I don't know. And then here's another one, this is one that I did definitely when that shiny thread was in style. And of course this is a variegated one, so you can't really see it too well. Did I show you this one already? I can't remember. But I love using, this is the Japanese, oh my god, the yarn, the really colorful yarn. I love making doilies with that yarn. It's so pretty. Oh, is it backwards? I can't tell anymore. And it does lie flat, but because I haven't ironed it, it's, a little bit wonky. And then the last two I'm going to show you are actually dishcloth patterns, but again, to me they're doilies. And I decided to make them in all gray, and I have these in my living room. This is one, and then this is another one. And like I said, I do like my texture. So it has baubles. This one has baubles. And this star stitch was so fun. I had never done that below. I had definitely done front post double crochets, and I love the texture on that. But yeah, so I do see how dense they are. They're not like airy. I love this. I love this so much. I do have doilies that my mother and grandmother made. They kind of got all mixed in, and now sometimes I can't even remember which ones they made. A lot of them were made with like that peachy, shiny thread that was so in that my mom used to love. But I have them in boxes. I really need to pull them out so I can show them. So this was just a little bit of chit chat about doilies, their history, some of the magazines we have. If any of you are into doilies, let me know. Maybe we can do a doily crochet along. Oh my God, that would be so much fun. Let me know if you're interested in that. Or just like a regular, let's talk about doilies, like new patterns that I find. There's so many out there because people do so many things with doilies now. They frame them and use them to decorate their rooms, or they put them on t-shirts, on back jean pockets, like a little doily just to decorate. Or I mean, it's amazing how many things are done with doilies. I've even seen them like do like the spraying half of them just to, and then take off the doily and it leaves the pattern there. It's just amazing. So if you all are interested, I'd be happy to talk more about doilies, but I thought I'd start the doily conversation this way. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you all so much for those likes and those comments. I just love reading your comments, so please comment down below. Do you make doilies? Are you interested in making doilies or just chit-chatting about doilies? Let me know. Or did you know somebody who used to make doilies? Share with me, because I love learning and getting to know you all. All right. Thank you again, and I will talk to you later. Bye.